The Fudd has played an important role in idiocy, an existence which has been ridiculed and denounced, served misery and annoyance alike, and carries with it gross moral hypocrisy. To understand the Fudd is to better understand idiocy.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the first episode of a brand new series called Tales of the Fudd. I am Mike B, your host, and we are going to go over a few things today, like definitions and all that stuff, and we're going to get to some cool experiences that are actually real life. So I'm going to be defining what my definition, kind of the universal definition of a Fudd is, and how they relate to the gun community a little bit, and we'll kind of go over that stuff. If you're being referred to by a future episode, this episode's going to be worth the watch, but I appreciate you watching. So without further ado, we're going to get going to ask the question, what is a Fudd? Okay, and if you don't know what this is by now, there are a lot of kind of misnomers and miscommunications, but it's kind of a fun thing. It's more of a just kind of a term of endearment, if you will. It describes a certain kind of person. So the agreed upon overall definition is, I'm going to be using Urban Dictionary, and I'm going to be pulling a couple of different definitions from a couple of the different entries. So the most popular one is it's a slang term for a casual gun owner. Example, a person who typically owns guns for hunting or shotgun sports like shooting clays and whatever, and doesn't truly believe in the true premise of the Second Amendment. It's mainly for hunting, that kind of thing. Now, there are people that do that's fine, but we'll get into kind of why this can be an issue with these certain types of people. These people also generally treat owners or users of so-called non-sporting firearms like handguns or semi-automatic rifles with unwarranted scorn or contempt. So that is very true. And then from the second definition, I pulled something that I viewed as relevant, and it kind of explains where the name came from. If you don't know who Elmer Fudd is, I'm sorry about that. You definitely grew up in a very sheltered world then, because Elmer Fudd is one of the funniest things that's ever existed on television. So basically, the name comes from Elmer Fudd, who is a cartoon character in Looney Tunes and whatever, Bugs Bunny and all that stuff. So, but like Elmer, Fudds are usually slow, dumb, and happily clueless until they get aggressive because you question them on something or they question you and you say they're wrong. And I'll add to some of my personal definition a little bit and broaden the horizons to include people who just don't really know anything about firearms in general but claim to, while at the same time supporting blindly just legislation that threatens to ban or restrict guns designed to kill or guns designed for war or some other stupid shit like that. And while they're against the army guns or the military style guns, that's something they use for civilian possession or use, they also tout the fact that the 1911 is the bestest handgun in the world and the single best platform or pistol that's ever existed and blah, blah, and you're a retard if you don't agree with their personal preference based on other people's opinions and preference. They're usually clueless, arrogant, judgmental, and usually older, but that's actually not a requirement. There is such a thing as a young Fudd. Now, I know it's more of a joke than anything, but these people do exist. And I don't like fracturing the gun community, but these people really, they're just not they're not a good addition to the overall image of the gun community. People generally think of them as that. Those are usually the guys that have a lot of accidents too, or just, are kind of just stupid and give ammunition to people that don't like firearms and stuff like that. So now that we kind of got that sort of out of the way, I'm sure I missed something, but that's the general overall idea of the kind of person like this. And usually it's really not fun to be around them if you're not one of those guys. So this series is going to aim to expose experiences that myself, friends, and viewers of the channel, that's where you come in, have had with these types of people for a couple reasons. One, to have a good laugh and let everyone also know that you're not alone. And if somebody's acting like this and they're watching this stuff and they blow up in the comments, well, hopefully you can get people to stop sort of being like this, because you're just being a dickhead to your fellow American and there's really no reason for it. So that definition, that's why I'm only going to put this definition in the first episode. Maybe I'll do it like every 5 or whatever, but it's a long definition and stuff, but it's relevant to the entire series. Now, my main experiences with these types have usually been short or in passing, thanks to the upper Midwest's really stellar passive-aggressive culture. If you're from up here in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, North Dakota, you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. Michigan. And although I have experienced Fudds elsewhere, which is fun, and I'll get to that probably in a later video. So we'll start with my usual sort of experience with the Fudd. And it's been a while, to be honest, which is a good thing. But it used to be when I was going to my local gun club frequently, like several times a week and whatever. And usually I get there really early in the morning. And so there wasn't many people there, so I could make videos and not be interrupted and stuff. So it's a 100-yard range, and if there's a car there and I see the outline of an older kind of egg-shaped person with a table full of accessories, it tends to trigger my Fudd senses upon closer inspection. It's usually a really old guy with some wood-stocked bolt-action 22 with a giant scope on it. And what they're doing is they're going to shoot one round at a time with about 5 to 10 minutes in between shots, and they're going to demand radio silence. And then for each shot, they go up and they walk the 100 yards at half the speed of smell, and they mark the shot and return. And this really sucks because if you start shooting and disturbing them with big, loud guns, anything that's not really a 22 or whatever, they usually comment with something really passive-aggressive like, "Oh yeah, it's got a loud pop to her. What you shooting out of that assault rifle?" You know, something like that. Some just dumb shit. And you're like, "Oh God, here we go." And at this point, you know it's over. And if I do end up making it this far, it's time to go home at that point. It was time to go home when we saw the car. But hey, because I know exactly what happens after that stage. I sit there, shoot whatever I'm shooting. He bitches, walks down after taking 10 full minutes to land his shot at the whopping 100-yard target, and then walks down there even if I want to shoot, and then complains when I do shoot. And then this has happened a lot of times before, and it's just really, really annoying, and it sucks because they're not usually nice. You're just a dumb fucking kid, and whatever, that kind of attitude. And it's just like, that's never been productive or helpful for anybody. So I just leave 99% of the time when that situation occurs. They also don't like rapid fire. It's not acceptable to these types of people. Rapid fire means firing more than one round or one shot in 5 seconds. So I'm not sure if they're worried that their pacemakers are just going to fail and they're going to end up doing the crappy flop on the concrete, due to the concussion and all that stuff, or if they're just so against somebody doing something that's a little bit different than their boring ass routine, that gives them the last shimmer of purpose to allow them to not give up hope and just keel over, i.e. the shots that take 10 minutes and land, and their groups are okay, but they could be better, and that's all they have to live for. It's sad, but it's also very obnoxious, and that's why I hate going to public ranges because of this. It's a huge reason. There's other types too, but this type, you deal with it a lot, especially out in rural areas like where I'm at. So anyway, it's been many years since that sort of shit happened, and I can't really remember anything in specific at this point with detail. I'm sure there's been more experiences, but later on in the series, I'll share them as they come back to memory. So now here's a story that was sent to me last year by a viewer for the Range Ninja series. But this didn't fit into a Range Ninja. This fit into Tales of the Fudd kind of story. So this is from Jeffrey Dees. Funny, if that's your last name, cool. If it's not, I'm not falling for it. Anyway, so he says, went to a range that was surprisingly empty, and the only other person there aside from myself and the range master was an older guy with a typical scoped bolt-action rifle. He started getting curmudgeon-y about the fact that I brought him the AR to shoot at some 300-yard plates, and lamented how the younger generation only wanted weak-ass rapid-fire poodle guns instead of superior handmade 30-06 hunting rifles. I told him I didn't like them, i.e. scoped bolt-action rifles, because I'm left-handed. I had to resist the urge to laugh when he said bolt-action rifles with scopes are easy to shoot left-handed, and I was laughing my ass off when this guy then proceeded to curse his way through trying to prove his point by teacup racking, using the thumb and forefinger like this. Like he was holding the teacup. I know exactly what you're talking about. If you haven't seen that, it's really funny and it's very prevalent in the older guys. The bolt with his right hand because the scope was in the way before telling me I'm retarded for wanting to shoot any gun left-handed. I kindly told him that's what semi-automatics and lever actions are for, so I don't make a fool of myself treating a rifle bolt like a teacup handle. He walked off the range more than a little salty, and I think that was the only time I've ever had a range master tell me, I think that guy kind of deserved that. Agreed. That kind of shit just drives me nuts too. It's like, hey, how about this? If you don't have anything productive to say, shut the fuck up and just keep doing what you're doing. I love it when people open their mouths, because 9 times out of 10 when they open their mouths, there's a reason for that, and they're not going to be able to do what you're doing as well as what you're doing, and they have to open their mouth. I don't have to open my mouth at a range. If I want to open my mouth, I go, hey, I like that rifle. What do you got there? I'm not familiar with that. Oh, what's this? Oh, that's really cool. I like that. It's something usually you'd be positive at a range. People are holding guns. Why would you be a dickhead? But anyway, these guys just have a God complex that they don't think anything's going to happen to them because it won't, because old people can talk to young people however they want to without any repercussions. Now, if somebody that was younger started talking that kind of shit, well, then it gets to be a little bit more escalated, and it makes me really uncomfortable because there's a lot of guns involved, a lot of testosterone and stuff. So anyway, this kind of shit just is not productive or good for anybody. So that's why I'm kind of making videos about it for lessons, and also how people have dealt with these kind of people. That's going to be another kind of a benefit of doing this series. So anyway, let's wrap up the first episode. I've been yapping for long enough, but yeah, this is probably going to be one of the longer ones unless somebody's got a pretty long story. So with that, if you've got a story, don't just make shit up just to try to be funny. That's not what this is really supposed to be about. Like, these are true stories. And again, there's kind of a lesson to be learned out of it, some good things. Plus, it's kind of fun. But just so if you have an actual experience, like with a Fudd on the range or just in a gun store, well, it doesn't have to be just on a range. Gun store Fudd lore and Fuddery is insane. You just sit there and listen to the old guys that sit there on the benches and just are in there to talk, and they never buy anything, and they're just sitting there talking. I mean, anyway, yeah. So if you guys got experiences like that, either throw them down in the comments, or you can send it to me on Facebook. Just type in Mike B. You'll know it's my page, and then you can send me a message on there, my page for my channel. And yeah, send me a message on there with your story and whatnot, and then maybe I'll get around to throwing it on a video if it's okay with you. So yeah, let's get that going. I'll have some of my friends submit stories too, and we'll go from there. Also, if you want to become a sponsor of this channel, you can become a Patreon supporter or a channel member. It's a really cool way to support my work and stuff like that, doing ballistic tests like we did a lot this summer that would not have been possible, Devin K and I, without the support of Patreon and channel membership. We got a lot of really cool, very expensive helmets shot, and it actually was pretty interesting, the results. So that kind of stuff. We're going to move on to body armor. I know we said we were going to do that this year, but next year we'll probably be doing that. Probably doing a lot more range videos. We're going to be doing a lot of winter shooting, I think. Devin K and I are going to be doing a lot of the winter videos we've been talking about, blah, 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 blah. I know I'm rambling. But anyway, if you want to do that, you want to see some really cool stuff, some cool content coming out, Patreon really helps me be able to afford to do videos that I would not otherwise be able to do just funding out of pocket. So that's a great way to do that. $5 a month or more on either platform gets you into my Discord server. That's really fun. It's awesome. I have a lot of good people on there, and it's a really fun time. If you want to support me, but you can't do it financially, I totally understand that. I get that. You can just do what, you know the drill. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell if it does anything. We'll see. And then also just share this video out. If you thought it was fun, you thought somebody else would get a kick out of it, or somebody falls into this category and maybe wants to see it, share it out. That's a great way to support my work. And if you don't want to support my work, hate to bring it to you, you already have by watching this video. So I appreciate everybody who watched this, and we'll see you on the next episode of Tales of the Fudd.